Elbow, forearm, he's going to be down.
The result of the play is a touchdown.
And then the flag that was thrown on this was picked up.
I don't know, did it get the face mask?
So by rule, the game is over.
The Lions Hangover.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Detroit Lions Hangover podcast. Obviously, you're hearing me either on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and when the season starts back up, you will also be able to find the video versions on YouTube. So, last week, a week ago, pretty much today, well, 8 days ago now, the Lions had their 2023 draft. Well, the entire NFL had the 2023 draft. And a lot of mixed reactions locally on how the Lions did for the draft. But nationally, I think the Lions are getting a little bit more love than the local guys are. So it's mixed. The Lions definitely did some non-traditional type approach to their draft, to their picks, but I think the consensus is overall, even with the local guys, everybody feels that the Lions got some really great players. I know SI is saying, Sports Illustrated, that is, for everybody that doesn't know what SI is. Sports Illustrated is saying that the Detroit Lions had the best all-around draft class, according to Next Gen Stats. I know PFF has, Pro Football Focus, has graded the Lions super high as well. And then ESPN was also pretty high on the Lions draft class. So let's go over the Lions picks. As I said I would do, I would break them down, and let's talk about each pick in the draft. Now, the Lions originally were picking 6, but they ended up trading back. I believe they traded with the Arizona Cardinals. And with their first pick, the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. Now, he is somebody that can hit the angles properly. He is a speedy receiver. He's got legit 4.3 speed in the 40. Last year, he led Alabama not only in rushing yards, but also receiving yards. He is a dual threat, a true dual threat weapon for the Detroit Lions. I feel like you guys probably know this already. I'm Mr. Hindsight, of course, but I am the hangover. I am not the drink. So that should be my slogan, right? I am the hangover. I'm not the drink. So we just break down everything that has happened. So with them drafting Jahmyr Gibbs, the writing was definitely on the wall for DeAndre Swift. He was traded to Philadelphia, I believe, the next day. Or did he move out Saturday? It was one of those days. Anyway, Swift is off to Philadelphia. Good luck and goodbye, Swift. Hopefully Jahmyr Gibbs can add some stability. Hopefully he's a little bit more durable with the Lions. But Jahmyr Gibbs, he's not a joke. I know a lot of people were surprised that they took a running back. I know I was. Ultimately, I did not care what the Lions did with the draft. We did not need the draft to get better. We needed the draft to get deeper. And I believe that is what we did. We also had a draft for the future a little bit, too. Again, I believe that is what we did, especially with Swift's contract coming up. They definitely were not going to renew his contract. So he had to move along. And with the signing of Montgomery, Swift was obviously the odd man out. So, Jahmyr Gibbs, welcome to Detroit from Alabama. He did play at Georgia Tech for a little bit. I have heard that the Lions would have picked him at 6 if they had to, if they could not find anybody to trade with. I think they were aware that it was a little bit too high for maybe him, but they also wanted to grab him while they could. Again, I have no regrets about this pick. I honestly did not care what the Lions did. I really just did not want them to take a tight end too early, and they did. But we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Gibbs, he's He could play receiver, honestly. He's going to play running back, but don't be surprised if we see him out in the slot occasionally, up on the line, running routes with everybody else too. So he is a little bit of a response, as well as Marvin Jones Jr., to the Jameson Williams suspension. So I do think they're going to use him. He can be used pretty much all over the field. I believe he even returned some kicks too. So he is a legit football player. He is a weapon to score touchdowns. So look for him to make a big impact in week 1. So the Lions had 2 first-round picks, and with their number 18 overall pick, they pick linebacker Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Now, Jack is a middle linebacker. The Lions run a weird 4-2-5 type defense. So, I mean, I'm sure they switch it up, but their standard defense is just going to be a 4-2. So there's going to be some cutting in to Malcolm Rodriguez's playing time. He's probably going to be the odd man out. I believe Jack Campbell overall is the future of the linebackers. You're going to see him and Anzalone mostly, and then Rodrigo is probably going to... There's going to be a solid rotation, I think, between the 3 of them. Lots of packages for Rodrigo, something to play up to his strengths. I know I've heard a lot of, Rodrigo, he had a great first half, but not so much a second half. That's not true. He was injured. He had like a shoulder, elbow injury. He was wearing a brace the second half of the season. He was not 100%. However, he was out on the field still making plays. Look for him to get even better. That's Rodrigo. But Jack Campbell, he's a solid Dan Campbell guy. He is a solid Detroit Lions culture. He is exactly what they are trying to do. He's 6'5", 249 pounds, so he is tall and lean. He finished his career at Iowa with nearly 300 tackles, including 143 in 2021. So this guy just hones in on the ball, and he takes the ball carrier down. He's going to be the anchor of the defense, perhaps not right away, maybe right away. It depends on how the Lions feel he is compared to Anzalone. Anzalone is the captain of the defense, so we will have to see how this happens. I'm not super familiar with Anzalone's contract, but there could be a phasing out of him as well. I know he signed a 3-year deal, but perhaps he will only be here for 2 years. I would say the clock is running on Anzalone. I still think Rodrigo is going to be here a while, but Anzalone's clock is running out. So for now, it's all about depth, which we have, but eventually one of those guys is going to be gone. It's likely going to be Anzalone, I think. So on to round 2, day 2. The Lions come back to Iowa, and they select, with their 34th pick, Sam Laporta. And I made the awesome joke, Laporta John. Laporta, get it? Laporta John? As if he's never heard this in his life before. He is Iowa's all-time leader in receptions for a tight end with 153, and ranks second in receiving yards with 1786. This is amazing because Iowa's offense is crap. So for anything good to come out of their offense, we got him. And I didn't want the Lions to pick a tight end. It just didn't make sense to me. They just got rid of Hawkinson, who also came from Iowa. I believe Laporta is Hawkinson's direct replacement, too. There may have been somebody else in between, as Hawkinson was drafted coming up on 4 years ago now. But it's like, not only did he replace Hawkinson at Iowa, he's now going to replace Hawkinson in Detroit. I like him. He's a good football player. He's a fantastic tight end. I do think he will be utilized, but I don't think the Lions utilize tight ends that well in the offense. I think they have limited purpose. However, when they are involved, it usually ends in a touchdown. So maybe they're expecting nothing but touchdowns from Iowa, Sam Laporta. but I believe he only had one touchdown last year for Iowa. That's how bad their offense was. He only had one touchdown, but he still was a huge part of their offense. But yeah, my big beef is, why are you trading Hockenson, who had time left on his contract? You know, he could have played all of last year, all of this year, and then you could have booted him out. And then you draft Mitchell last year. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I did not feel tight end, just for our offense, I don't feel tight end is a huge weapon. Nonetheless, they got a fantastic football player in Sam Laporta. So we will have to see how he turns out. Now, at the end of round 2, possibly the best steal of the entire draft, as far as pick and value and talent of the player, was with the number 45 pick. They picked safety Brian Branch from Alabama. He is huge. The Lions traded up 3 spots to get him. The Lions did a lot of trading during the draft. It was actually kind of confusing to keep track of. It was pretty difficult. I was at Ford Field for day 1, and it was just like, okay, so where are we picking? And anyway, Branch converted 98% of his tackle attempts in 2022, which ranked number 1 among all FBS defensive backs. Detroit's defense, of course, allowed 82 plays of 20-plus yards last season, which were the most in the NFL. And look for that to come to an end, because he is just another weapon in the secondary. To me, that was our weak spot, and it is now one of our strengths. I actually liked our defensive line. I know everybody was complaining about our defensive line, about how we couldn't stop the run. We could not stop the run against scrambling quarterbacks. Against running backs, the Lions were fantastic. They held Dalvin Cook to less than 30 yards. Like, the only game that I can think of last season where the Lions got ran over was the Carolina game, and mentally the Lions were not in it that game. They were complaining about the field surface, and they could not get it out of their head. So that game was almost predetermined in their minds to just have a crappy game. But if you, Saquon Barkley, he didn't run against us. The Lions' run defense is a lot better than we get credit for. The thing that hurt us is Jalen Hurts hurt us. Justin Fields running hurt us, but the Bears are not a problem. But running-wise, Justin Fields can run on us. Scrambling quarterbacks, that's our weakness. That is our weakness, is the scrambling quarterbacks. Has nothing to do with the running game. The running backs, we are able to contain them. I don't see it as an issue, because if your quarterback is running for 100 yards, as we saw with Justin Fields, they're not winning against us. They're not winning because, you know, that's just 100 yards offense. If you can't throw the ball and you can't use your running back, you're only giving up 100 yards offense. Sure, it's to one guy and it looks stupid, but ultimately you're still only giving up 100 yards of offense, which is fantastic. I would love to just give up 100 yards to the opposing offense every single game, because that's a number 1 defense right there. So I feel like the Lions' defensive front is a lot better than they get credit for. Again, they did have a rough first half of the season, but by the second half of the season, they were really tearing it up. So the weak spot was the secondary, and now they've got Brian Branch. He can play cornerback. He can play safety. He can move all over the field. He is like a C.J. Gardner-Johnson duplicate. This guy, you're going to be able to plug him in anywhere. This is the best pick of the draft, possibly, for where he was picked. I'm not saying he's the best safety or the best cornerback. I'm just saying at number 45, this kid, he was predicted, mocked to go day 1. So here he is at the end of day 2, and the Lions snagged him, and he stayed for the draft. So I think that says a lot about his character. I think he's a good person. He is part of the future of this Lions defense. So look for him to be here a long time. Hopefully he has a great rookie season. He can stay healthy. Somehow he can find a way onto the field, because the Lions are now stacked in the secondary. They have so many players in the secondary. It is ridiculous. Now, the Lions, making some trades again, they move up to pick number 68. The Lions had 5 picks in the top 68, and that's this would be number 5 right here. And they selected quarterback Hendon Hooker. Now, let the quarterback controversy begin, because the minute Jared Goff has a mediocre game or worse, you're going to start hearing we got to play Hooker. We got to play Hooker. Like, when's he coming in? We need to change at quarterback. Like, you're going to start hearing this stuff. But he's coming off of an ACL injury. He's probably not going to be ready to go. I believe he injured it in November. It's possible he could be ready to go in October should Goff get injured, but is he going to be ready? Is he going to know the offense well enough? So I say look for the Lions to get another veteran quarterback. I think Sudfeld's days are numbered. He's probably going to be on his way out the door. If you could get Bridgewater, even Matt Ryan, I would love to have Matt Ryan. I'm not saying Matt Ryan's better than Bridgewater. It's just between the two, I trust Matt Ryan to handle our offense. I think Ben Johnson could really help Matt Ryan the way he helped Jared Goff. If I was Matt Ryan, I would not want to come here because Goff seems to be a pretty durable quarterback. It's not the best situation. I think Ryan still wants to be a starting quarterback. If I were Matt Ryan, I would go to like Arizona, something where they need a little bit of a starter right away. I think he could fill in just fine there, but that's Arizona's problem, not us. So there are also talks about Brad Holmes and Jared Goff and his agent. They've entered into extension talks. That's all they've said. Don't look for any deal to get done right now. The Lions still have Jared Goff under contract even next year. So if he has a great year this year, look for a possible extension, which is weird because Hooker is older, so the clock is running against him. I think there's only like a 3.5-year difference between Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's like 25 right now. He'll be 26 in January. I think I read that somewhere. He is a strong player. If it wasn't for his injury, he probably would have gone first round. There were talks about how he was a top 3 quarterback in the draft. He completed 69.6% of his passes. He threw for over 3,100 yards. He had 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions while also rushing for 430 yards and 5 touchdowns. This guy is an athlete. He can scramble, but he is not a scrambler. You know, he's not somebody, he's not a Josh Allen. He's not a Justin Fields. Well, he's better than Justin Fields already. He's going to be depth at first, but it's still a little bit cloudy as far as is Goff's clock running now? Like, are his days numbered? I feel like his days are numbered. You don't draft somebody. You don't draft a second-string quarterback. You just don't. You know, not in the 3rd round. You draft the developmental guy in the 3rd round. You draft your 2nd and 3rd stringers in like the 7th round, right? Or like Brock Purdy, he was the 3rd string quarterback, right? It was just by a fluke series of injuries that he was able to prove that he can play. So good for him. I like Brock Purdy and all that stuff. But he was drafted as a 3rd string quarterback. He was not drafted to be the starter. He was not drafted to be the 2nd string quarterback. He was drafted to be the 3rd string quarterback. So round 2, the end of round 2, on the cusp of round 3, you're drafting your developmental guy. So sooner or later, he's going to get his shot, and sooner or later, Goff is going to be gone because Hooker is older. He's not a 22-year-old kid coming out of college. He's 25 years old coming out of college. Goff is going to be 29 or is 29. He's like the oldest player on the team, you know? So if the Lions do give Goff an extension, it is going to be like a 2-year extension. And it's really going to depend on how Goff plays. And the thing that scares me the most is that the Lions offense has another great year. Here's Goff looking like the man when a lot of us feel like Goff's success is from Ben Johnson. So if Ben Johnson leaves after this year, what does that mean for Jared Goff? Is he going to be able to play as well as he did last year statistically under a new offensive coordinator? There's no guarantee of that. And And I know Hendon Hooker, a lot of people say that his credit was due to the type of offense that they ran in Tennessee. But I also feel like Ben Johnson you cater to the strengths, which is what Ben Johnson is doing for Jared Goff. He's catering to Jared Goff's strengths. But Jared Goff may be limited to what he can do, where Hendon Hooker's ceiling is so much higher. Let's see, we got to get going on this, dude. We are rambling. So, anyway, who knows what's going to happen? Right now, he's going to be a depth piece. I think the soonest he could play, if Goff gets injured, is October. He is extremely athletic, so I think he's going to be the future. So, finally, in round 3, the Lions address their defensive line, quote, needs. Like I said earlier, I don't think there is much of a need at defensive line, but depth is always good. They pick, with their 96th pick, Broderick Martin, defensive tackle out of Western Kentucky. This dude is huge. He is 6'5", 337 pounds. He racked up 31 tackles and 1.5 sacks and forced a fumble as a redshirt senior. He wasn't invited to the combine, but he was at the 2023 East-West Shrine Bowl, which is where the Lions apparently noticed him. He's a big dude. Big dude. He's going to be a depth piece. I don't think he's going to be an impact player, but he's going to be somebody that you can rely on. He's going to be in the middle of that defensive line. He is going to be plugging up holes. He is massive. He is going to be batting down passes. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but with the rotation, if he stays healthy, I feel like he's a solid replacement for Levi Onwuzurike, which who knows if he's going to be able to play or not. I've heard mixed things as far as his health goes. But if he can't go, I feel like Broderick Martin is going to be a suitable replacement. So the Lions don't have a pick in the 4th round. They move on to the 5th round. And with their 152nd pick, they pick up Colby Sorsdale, offensive tackle from William & Mary. He is a giant dude. He is 6'6", 301-pound tackle. So 6'6", you hear 300 pounds, that's actually pretty lean. The dude is ginormous, So 300 pounds, he's going to have some meat on him, and he's going to be able to hold his ground against big defensive tackles. He had 46 career starts, which is kind of unheard of for a college player. You figure they're playing all 4 years. There's 12 games, typically in a college season. So he is 2 starts short of a typical college season for 4 years. So this dude has played a lot of football, which I think is an underestimated attribute. He's going to be a depth piece. He's going to be a future piece. Who knows what's going to happen with Halaputu Vaitai, with Graham Glasgow? Is he going to be as good? I don't know. I do like Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach of the Lions. I think Colby Sorsdale is going to be a good piece, a good depth piece, and we'll just have to see what sort of future he has. But he definitely has the side. He has the athleticism. He does come from a smaller college like William & Mary, but that shouldn't matter. Skills are skills and size is size, and that size is going to help his skills out really well too. And then with round 7, the 219th pick of the 2023 draft, the Detroit Lions select Antoine Green, wide receiver from North Carolina. He is a deep threat. He's probably going to be taking up Quintez Cephas' spot, who was kicked out for gambling, and it's also why Jameson Williams is suspended. But he's a deep threat. He averaged 17.1 yards per reception. So if you're throwing to this guy, you're throwing to him down the field. He is definitely a vertical threat to stretch the field until Williams is cleared to play. He's a solid wide receiver. He definitely is going to be kind of on the bottom. He's not going to be taking snaps away from Marvin Jones Jr. He's not going to be taking plays away from Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not going to be taking the spot of Jamison Williams when he comes back, but he will, especially with those first 7 games, find his way onto the field. He should be a deep threat if Jared Goff can throw accurately down the field, but he should be able to you'll see him. You'll be like, oh my God, this guy's got some speed. He's getting down the field. So you'll see him. He's going to be noticeable, but what is his long-term future? Not entirely sure. But who knows? Sometimes it's those later round picks that surprise you and they find their way onto the field a little bit more, and then all of a sudden Josh Reynolds isn't playing as much as you might think he would. Maybe Marvin Jones Jr. isn't playing as much as you think he would, all because your 7th round pick is Antoine Green is playing pretty solid. The Lions signed a bunch of undrafted free agents. These are guys that don't get drafted, and then they go into the free agent pool, and then teams just throw whatever incentives at them to get them to come to the team. The Lions picked up a running back, I believe from Minnesota, Mo Ibrahim, and he had 1,700 yards. So this is kind of like a runner-up type thing. I'm not going to go over all of the undrafted free agents, but I think he's going to make a difference too. 1,700 yards in the Big Ten. That's a good accomplishment, especially when you're playing for a team like Minnesota and you are playing against teams like Ohio State, Michigan State. Like quality schools. And you're getting some yards on the ground. So I like Craig Reynolds, but Ibrahim might be a little bit better than Craig Reynolds coming out. He could be a 3rd back. He could be a 4th back. We don't have, what is it? The other running back, I can't think of his name, Jack Johnson. That's not it, is it? Jackson Johnson. Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about. We did not re-sign him. I think he's going to take that spot. So we have a good core of 4 running backs, and hopefully they all get to find the field this season. I'm excited about him. He's a speedy guy from Minnesota. But yeah, wow, I'm going into 27 minutes here. Okay, well, I'll wrap this up. Thanks for listening. This has been another exciting edition of the Detroit Lions Hangover Podcast. Don't forget to find me on all social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm really active on Twitter. I'm going to push that one. Find me on Twitter and follow me. You can find me on Instagram too. I do post stuff during the season on Instagram, not so much now, although I did post a few pictures in my stories from the draft party at Ford Field from day one. Other than that, thanks again for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for telling friends about me if you do. If not, hey, tell your friends about me. I appreciate that. And I think that is all. You guys have a good, fantastic day. I've rambled so much that I think this is like one of my longest podcasts. All right. Peace out, homies. Happy Cinco de Mayo. So, adios, muchachos. All right.